Good day, everyone. My name is Simon Bliss. I'm founder and trustee of Safety for Good. We were set up as an initiative in the UK and now abroad with health and safety leaders to raise the positive profile of the profession in three ways. Firstly, donating time to great causes, and we have some great causes on our website that we support and lots of different charities. Mentoring new and young entrants into the profession. We are losing some people at the top end nearer my age than Andrew's, and it's important that we encourage new entrants to the profession and retain them as well. So we're running a mentoring program in conjunction with IOSH to support those young professionals, and also raising money for the portfolio of charities we do. And I forgot the fourth point, of course, which is the pro bono service that our professionals are giving free of charge to positive initiatives by charities and good causes to support their events. Now, I'm joined today by the president of IOSH, Andrew Sharman, Dr. Andrew Sharman, who you can see with me. And we're going to do a little short interview really discussing the challenge of COVID and where we are today, how that's affecting our fellow professionals around the world. And potentially the first question I'm going to challenge him with is how has it affected him personally and with also his business? He's a global consultant in the field. So Andrew, over to you, sir.
I think that's two questions in one, isn't it? How's it affected me and how's it affected my business? Well, let me unpack the easier part of that first. How's it affected my business? Well, it's completely changed the game, Simon, to be frank. We've been a very busy organisation for the last few years, delivering face-to-face training, leadership development programs, culture assessments and coaching with clients who are all large multinationals around the world. And an indication of that is last year I was in 58 different countries and away from home 75% of the time. All of that has changed with coronavirus. All clients have backed off and said, you can't come to site, we're not having anyone on site, the world is different. So I've gone from having a very full diary to now having a very empty diary in terms of the traditional work that we've been doing. And we're finding that the shift now is migrating over to online technology like this, as we shift to online resources, interactive webinars and sessions like this, and on the telephone for coaching activities. So it's changing the way that we think about how we deliver the service to our clients. The more challenging part of the question is how is it affecting me? And I'd love to be able to say it's not affecting me at all. Everything's fine. I'm on top of the world, but that's just not the truth. And what I've noticed in my presidential addresses to branches of IOSH around the world is that everybody is affected in some way, whether it's a kind of low-grade anxiety about what does the future hold, or something more significant where people are going through crises around will I still have a job, or being made redundant and not having a job to go to, or those fears around being near people that have had coronavirus or may have coronavirus. So I've had a degree of anxiety about all of that stuff too. And in fact, like you, I've also contracted the coronavirus and have been feeling not in full health for several weeks now. So yeah, things are stabilizing for the business and for me as an individual, but I think we still have quite a long way to go to get back to whatever the new normal looks like.
No, that's thank you for that answer and the honesty as well in the second part of that question. Now, the second question was I need to expand a little bit because I wrote it down as we move towards, as we're in the second stage of the crisis in the UK. The UK seems to be a little bit further behind than everything east of us. So with your global perspective, perhaps you could expand upon the UK element of the question. I was going to say, how can health and safety professionals contribute positively and significantly to their organisation's transition from lockdown back to productivity? I think they have a key role to play, and I'm just keen to see whether you're witnessing that or you've been advised or asked about that as a challenge.
Yeah, I definitely both. I've witnessed some of that and have also been asked about it too. I was having a bit of a crisis actually as the president of IOSH, being the only president in the history of IOSH that didn't physically get out to any branch meetings or move around the world representing IOSH, as all my predecessors have done. But what I've actually noticed instead is that whilst there's been a dip in my normal business activity, I've been able to give more time to IOSH as a volunteer, and that's meant that I could get out to much more numbers of branch and group meetings around the world, not just in the UK. So I've got quite a robust perspective now, I think, on what's going on and what IOSH practitioners in the UK and further afield might be able to do. I think look, professionals that are responsible for occupational safety and health, IOSH, have got a key role in helping governments, organisations and communities to really manage the COVID-19 related IOSH risks. They've got the relevant technical knowledge and skills to save lives and livelihoods. Within their organisations, practitioners are able to work collaboratively as part of multidisciplinary teams, managing IOSH in COVID emergency situations and in continuity plans as organisations return back to work. Mm-hmm. And the very best IOSH practitioners understand that it's broader than just a business, that it's about supply chains too, as an extension of the organisations, and the need to ensure that those supply chains are covered well in terms of risk control measures. Yeah. So I think that the businesses in the UK and beyond are now going to look towards IOSH practitioners to ensure that their workplaces are not only disease-free, but also centres of disease prevention and safe and healthy work activity. So now is the time really for IOSH practitioners to step up and to prove their real value to organisations, show how much they have to contribute, and to really steer the leadership of organisations, whether in the UK or beyond, out of this crisis that is the pandemic and into the future.
That's really positive. We had similar feedback from a couple of professionals I mentioned to you earlier last week, where they've been fairly early on in the pandemic. They were called in to senior management to help put together business continuity planning, and they've been an integral part of that small team within very large organizations, managing supply chains and everything else. And they were hoping that their presence and their value will continue beyond pandemic, because they've been getting the respect and engagement and connectivity with certain very senior leaders of their organizations that they really didn't feel they had before. So I think it's a positive thing if we can make it last and take it further forward.
Yeah, and let me just pick up on that, something you said there, Simon. You said those people are hoping that this continues. Yeah. Hope doesn't actually fuel forward progress. It's our deliberate action and our deliberate behaviour that will decide whether these practitioners will remain in a position of leadership, that will continue to have the ears of their organisation. So hope, I don't think, is a useful strategy right now. We all need some faith in something for sure. But I think now's the position that once IOSH practitioners do have the ear of their leaders and are able to demonstrate the value that they bring to the organisation, now's the time to keep standing up and keep delivering that value and keep that leadership demonstrated very clearly.
Yeah, I sort of agree with you. As a supplier to the industry, looking in from outside, I've always felt that the health and safety people, our IOSH practitioners, aren't as confident as they should be. You know, they quietly get on with doing good stuff, which is part of the reason why we wanted to bang the drum for you. Because you do, unlike, as a quote, a phrase I've used from time to time, unlike doctors and nurses, of course, who are praised for the reactive, wonderful work they do, saving people's lives, they're heroes. IOSH practitioners proactively go about quietly saving people's lives, but because they're proactive and things don't happen because of the processes and practices that they put in place, people don't take any notice.
I think you're right. And that's been my experience too. You know, I've been working in IOSH now for 24 years, and it's a great privilege for me to be the president of the Institution of Occupational Safety and Health. You know, we're the world's biggest body for IOSH practitioners, 48,000 people, 130 countries. I haven't met all 48,000 members of IOSH, but every member that I do meet, I'm impressed with their commitment, their enthusiasm, and their dedication to making the world of work safer and healthier. So I think now's the time for those that perhaps were lacking with a little bit less confidence in the past. Now's the time for them to stand up collectively as one IOSH, as one group of practitioners, whether members of IOSH or not, whether new to the profession or much more seasoned professionals. Now's the time for us all to stand together for safety, for good, for everyone, everywhere.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to move us on. After the 2008 banking crisis, we witnessed. I just bought Principal People then. We witnessed significant job losses in the safety sector, especially in public and not-for-profit sectors. How do you see COVID-19 crisis affecting different sectors, such as travel, hospitality, etc.?
I think it's an interesting question. The short answer is I don't know. I have a twin perspective, I suppose, as president of IOSH and also with another hat on as chairman of the board of the Institute of Leadership and Management. So I'm thinking about business from different dimensions. Whilst we don't know the extent of the economic impact on different sectors, many of us will experience job losses, as you've mentioned, as they recover from this pandemic and try to work out what's next. One thing that's clear to me is that safety and health professionals are absolutely vital to ensuring safe, healthy recovery from this crisis, and their skills will become more important, I think, even more important than ever before, in building new, more resilient businesses in every sector for the future.
No, that's encouraging. And really leading on from that last one, which sectors do you think will boom and help our recovery from the inevitable downturn expected following Q2 into Q3 and Q4? And I say that because as a supplier to the industry and as a recruiter, I've seen double the CVs come in from some of those damaged sectors in airline, aerospace, manufacturing, hospitality. The good news is with safety professionals have got pretty good transferable skills. So we'll be able to take those individuals, the best of, and push them into other more buoyant sectors. But have you got a feeling for which sectors might recover the quickest or boom from this downturn?
Thank you, Simon. These are tough questions today. Look, I'm no economist. I'm a psychologist, but I don't have a crystal ball. So I can't really pinpoint sectors that I think are going to be worst hit or will bounce back quicker. I think you flagged up on a couple that are obvious. Travel, hospitality, tourism, airline sectors. These are all certainly suffering at the moment. And like you, I've had through my LinkedIn account, numbers of people writing to me saying, what advice do you have for helping me stay secure in my job, to find another job, to upskill? So I can't help you pinpoint sectors, but what I do feel strongly about is that it's the way that we do business, how we produce, trade, buy, sell, and consume that will be important to our future. To some degree, I guess I'm touching on the well-known social pillar of sustainability that refers to safety, health, community, well-being, human capital, human rights, decent work, and labour rights. And I'm sure many of our listeners today will, of course, be familiar with that. So I suppose, look, in the face of changing manufacturing processes, materials, stakeholder expectations, organisations need to have access to an increasingly agile and resilient workforce to provide continued purposeful and profitable goals. And in order to be able to have that access to that workforce, the organisation needs to be human-focused. In other words, it puts employees and the communities with which those employees come from centre stage and at the heart of what they do. So it's not just about work not causing harm, because to do so will be damaging to the communities, but more than that, health and safety needs to be a key dimension of recovery for these businesses, supported by the right behaviours and values, individually and collectively. And I think that broader perspective might be a little bit more useful for any organisation in any sector.
That actually leads me on to the next question. So you might not need to answer so much of that, but I've given the positive affinity we've developed during the pandemic for all of our health and social care workers, but I would also say our essential workers as well. You know, our postman says he's never had so many well-wishing cards and bottles of beer left out for him. He said it's been like Christmas nearly every day. Do you think we'll see a positive social change and welfare with real investment in these previously undervalued roles? And how can safety professionals help support that change and get involved with it?
Well, you've prompted me to think about a career shift into becoming a postman. I've always quite envied posties, to be honest, and now I hear that they're getting free beer and lots of smiles. It does sound even more appealing. I think that there has been a bunch of positive affinity coming around the pandemic. I was stuck in rural Scotland. I normally live in Switzerland. I went to visit family for a few days, got caught there in the lockdown, and ended up spending 3 months in an Airbnb rental apartment. So I came to know the local postie there quite well as I was requiring to mail in new clothes, books to read, notepads to write in, text so that I could get back online. And the postie there was telling me the same sort of story as you've just articulated. And certainly at IOSH, we believe that OSH is a fundamental human right for everybody, whether you're a postie or working in a factory or out in the sugarcane field. It's a fundamental human right. And we support the United Nations Sustainable Development Policies and Goals in that sense. So we've been pushing over the last few weeks, particularly with policymakers at the UN, the ILO, the World Health Organization, as an organization, IOSH, and involving me as president, to really see how we build more of this affinity in these stakeholder relationships, but also more publicly too, because whilst it's nice to talk about these positive stories, I'm sure every listener to this program today has also got experiences of the opposite, and negativity amongst people falling out in supermarket queues or getting upset at being too close to others on the street, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you for that. I've been positive. I've been really inspired by the positivity of it all, actually, and I hope that continues. That I think is important. We've already seen during the pandemic in the UK, there's been a significant rise in domestic abuse, 40%. One of our ambassadors, Steve Petit, sadly passed on recently in a discussion with him that he's had within his community that they serve. They have 100,000 properties that they support social housing. You know, they've had the first suicide from that came from domestic abuse situations. Mental health issues are predicted to rise significantly with depression, anxiety, and suicide statistics rising too. What role can health and safety professionals take to minimize this impact and identify potential problems early?
I think this is perhaps one of the future perspectives that OSH practitioners really need to get on their radar. I've been writing in my books for some time about the importance of OSH practitioners thinking about mental health, well-being and resilience more broadly. And what I know is that lots of OSH practitioners say, well, I can't get into that because I'm not a nurse, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a medical doctor. But yes, you can. Yes, you can. We've got to take this role in thinking about medical health. It's vitally important. IOSH has produced a tool called Mental Health in the Workplace Benchmarking Questions, which can help organizations to design a mental wellness system and create action plans for improvement. And it's available to download for free on the IOSH website. And we also commissioned a study called Return to Work After Common Mental Disorders. And again, that study is on the website too, which provides recommendations for what organizations can do to help workers return to work with mental ill health. More than that though, rather than just pointing to research, I wonder if I might offer just a bit of a personal perspective here. As I mentioned earlier in your question about how I was feeling, I mentioned that I was feeling some levels of anxiety, and to be honest, it's probably a bit more than that. I've been deliberately, definitely worried on certain days. I've found myself falling out with my partner a little bit more and getting a bit more agitated, and vice versa. So I know that this is here, and your statistics are absolutely resonant for us, that we've got to draw it into perspective. But the trouble is that we seem to forget that we're human beings and focus on human doings, particularly when we're in great demand. We just try to do more and more and more. And there's almost a juxtaposition here. On one hand, I've been saying we've got to stand up as practitioners when we've got leaders listening to us, and we've got to show the value that we can create. But we've also got to realize that if we can't lead ourselves, we can't lead anybody else. And this occurred to me just about a week or so ago, where I was busy working on a project, and the person that I was talking to on email sent me a note saying, "Great, looking forward to working on this. How are you?" And then carried on writing about the project. And I quickly fired the email back saying, "Great that we're on this project. Here's what we need to do next. Let's go." And he immediately wrote back saying, "That's all very well and good, but how are you?" And I caught myself and thought, my goodness, I didn't answer the question. I focused on just doing the work instead of how I was, how I'm being right now. And when I thought about it, I realized that I wasn't doing great. And I wrote back and said, probably feeling about a 6 out of 10 at the minute. I was feeling quite heavy. I'm stuck on lockdown. I've got the virus. Work is radically changed. I've got demands on me of all hours of the day from my IOSH presidential duties. I'm trying to recruit some people. I'm trying to manage my team. I'm finding it a bit tough. And this guy wrote back and said, "And that's okay. And that's okay. What can I do to help? How are you feeling about this?" He asked another couple of supplementary questions. And just that process of asking the question twice, well, how are you? It made me realize that I wasn't a 6 out of 10 after all. After that little chat, I've probably gone up to about a 7, maybe even a 7.5. And I wrote about it on LinkedIn. Every week I try to do a little quick post, The Life of the IOSH President. And I wrote about exactly this. And when I finished writing the article, I realized that I was 8 out of 10. Yeah. So maybe one of the practical things that OSH practitioners can do, Simon, all of us, whether we're OSH practitioners or not, is to ask people a second time, how are you really? And then stick around and listen to the answer.
No, that's great advice. So thank you for being so honest. I was discussing with a couple of health and safety leaders last week, and they said we're quite low down on our own agenda of things to do, and actually we should bring ourselves up a bit and think about how we are rather than how everyone else is and what they've got to do. So it's bring yourself up your own agenda a little bit more. Which brings us on to working from home has been a steep learning curve for most of us here, UK and abroad. But the workforce has proven their productivity for the most part, certainly those office workers, and the efficiency with this new enforced process. Will we ever again travel daily in a rush hour to our usual place of work? Or have we proven that business and organizations can work in the new normal? How can safety professionals complement and ensure remote working is both safe and productive, and therefore significantly enhance the well-being of the workforce and the efficiency of organizations? They're getting longer, aren't they, these questions? Sorry about that.
You've worked hard on these questions, Simon. Well done. Look, I think there will become a time, perhaps quite soon, where we'll be able to return to work. And in some parts of the world, like here in Switzerland, where I am now, that's already happening. However, it may be that return is the wrong word, because it assumes that we'll be going back to something that we're all familiar with. And I don't think it's going to be like that. I think that the working environment will have changed permanently by the time we get back. And we'll need to think about what the new normal might look like. Yet we can talk about phased returns to work, to the office or factory, and balancing that against the need to get back up to full capacity as quickly as possible. But as OSH professionals, I think we've got a real role to play in preparing the ground for that to happen. Immediately, and most in our control, is what we must do now to make our workplaces safe places to go to and to keep them safe. Knowing that everybody that comes back to that workplace will have some degree of anxiety, whether it's about catching coronavirus from someone else, or taking their eye off the ball of the normal risks that had existed pre-pandemic because they're worried about the future of their employment or other issues. And then second, I think we need to rethink our working practices. How do we modify, redesign and remodel our workplaces and processes so that we have a work environment that's sustainable and more resilient in the future to shocks like the one that coronavirus brought? There's questions here, of course, isn't there, about management styles, management methods, about safety culture and organizational culture, about communication, and about what's really important, our people, which is probably my third point here. And if I might, just for a minute, let me spin it back to you, Simon, with answering your question with a couple of my own.
Okay.
As I was thinking about this chat today, I was wondering myself, how do we ensure that we fit into the new working environment, whatever that looks like? What kind of leadership can we expect from managers in encouraging behavioural change? How do we re-educate ourselves as OSH leaders about work and its role in our lives, and about the part of our lives that's subsumed by work? And I hope that we've all, whoever we are, OSH leaders or business leaders, and we've all learned something in this pandemic period about how we organise work and how we treat our fellow workers. And as we were just saying in that previous discussion, how we treat ourselves too.
Yeah, well, I think it is interesting. We've been working from home with our team at Principal People now since that last week of March. The productivity has been good. It's surprised us. Recruitment is quite a people business, but our product is people. It's run by people. Our candidates are our assets, and our clients are people too. So it's when that tends to work in a busy office environment where there's collaborative work and there's a buzz and an energy to keep activity high. But we've all proven, and my team have proven, that they can work remotely pretty productively, successfully. We do miss that personal engagement. We are tend to be outgoing activist animals, and we like to be near each other. But it is, I don't think we will go back to a full-time 5-day-a-week work from the office. I think it's taught us lots of things about how we can change and create a better well-being for our people. I used to spend quite a bit of my time thinking about the well-being. Am I burning out some of these youngsters? You know, as they're doing 11, sometimes 12-hour days. You can't. It's great. You can do that when you're 22. Can you do that when you're 35? And no, you know. So this has taught us a lot, I think, in how we can do things differently. And we had part of after getting over the COVID scenario, my worst April ever, most of May was thinking about how we do things differently for ourselves, and networking with lots of other businesses which are clients and mixtures of candidates as well. And they gave us great ideas on how they're working, whether that was ideas we found from construction organizations or corporate services, lots of office-based businesses which have something similar to the way we work. But we were able to share some ideas, and we've come up with some new processes we're going to be delivering to our clients and candidates, which I think will make their lives easier. We'll be better off, and the candidates will have a better experience too. In the past, we've had 100 candidates applying for each of the roles that we have. It means 99 people get disappointed. And sometimes it's difficult to engage with that 99 to keep them interested and motivated, because that job wasn't right for them, but the next job might be. So it's important to think about the 99 and make sure we've got lots of time to speak to them rather than the person who we made some money from.
Yeah.
And I come on to the next. We've been working with Smart Solutions. We're on Zoom today. And I was going to say, how can smart solutions and technology help us to rebuild our industries? What role can tech and AI help in supporting regeneration? I mentioned Zoom just now. I saw a fact that Zoom is now worth more than all the American airlines put together, and is doubled in value to over $35 billion in the last 3 months. But my question would be, will we ever drive, fly or commute again for those face-to-face meetings when everyone is now quite used to and comfortable with online meetings and conferences?
I think the answer is yes, we will ever drive, fly or commute again for face-to-face meetings. That will happen. Like you, I found that I've had to switch to Zoom. I think I spend at least 50% of my day on Zoom, Blue Jeans or Microsoft Teams meetings right now at all hours of the day. And in fact, like you, I've been busy recruiting. I've recruited a senior leader for my business over the last few weeks, purely on online video discussion. And I recruited a chief executive for a business that I'm involved with as well over the same technology without meeting face to face. Now, if I'd have thought about whether that could happen just 6 months ago, I would have said, no way, surely you have to look at the whites of their eyes and shake their hands. And I think while we're becoming more and more expert in adapting to and adopting new technologies, I think there'll always be a need for some face-to-face meetings. We're at a moment where we can review all the things that have had to happen because of the risks of infection. But as alert, forward-looking, progressive professionals, I think we'll choose innovative solutions and technologies that protect and enhance what human beings can do. And yes, often it'll be sensible for lots of reasons. Efficiency, cost effectiveness, environmental sustainability, for example, where face-to-face meetings will not be the most appropriate method. But I still think we will have to meet people and press the flesh and be there to get that energy that goes on in teams. But without doubt, there's a surge in tech. And we're certainly seeing that in my business. We offer a program, an IOSH certificate program in behavioral safety leadership, which people are turning to in place of the face-to-face meetings and trainings that we've been running in the past. And when I talk to other training service providers, they're all telling me the same thing. But one challenge that we need to be mindful of is that we recognize the risks from this new technology. I think one of the challenges with being on video technology like the ones that we're using today and others is that they are quite exhausting. We're under the spotlight right now. I'm perhaps subconsciously feeling the pressure that there may be a few people tuning into this, and I've got to get my hair right, and I've got to make sure my shirt's okay, and nothing hanging off my face. And also, when we're in group settings here, what I've noticed too is the dynamic that goes on when you've got a large number of people, and particularly when you see them all on the screen. I was talking to a group in the Middle East recently where there were several hundred people, and I really kind of felt under the spotlight there. And I come off of these calls, Simon, and think, I'm exhausted. The mental fatigue of being always on, of being always watched, whereas perhaps that might not be the case when we're in a large meeting or a town hall, face to face. That's pretty intense. So we need to remind ourselves to take a bit of time to recharge the batteries after this tech that we're using.
Yes, that's a good point. Thank you for that. Safety professionals have proven they got excellent transferable skills, and I think in the post-COVID pandemic, that might be very useful. They touch every aspect of the business and organisations that several other job titles, bar perhaps CEO and HR, never do. And as other departmental heads tend to work in silos, how can safety professionals' roles develop to support a more general management role with more responsibility, status, and respect from their colleagues in other operational roles?
I think that we're both seeing a similar shift here, and I like that you're picking up on IOSH practitioners having excellent transferable skills. I believed in that for many, many years. However, there can be a tendency, as perhaps we've both alluded to already, for some IOSH practitioners not to have the confidence to be able to step up and really leverage and develop more of those transferable leadership skills. I hope that the IOSH competency framework, which we launched last November, will really help there, because it highlights the changes in expectations of the IOSH practitioner nowadays. Organisations require much more than just technical expertise from IOSH professionals. There's an increased focus, as you're suggesting, on the strategic element of good IOSH practice. So organisations, I think, are looking for assessment of the impact on the business to deliver real results. And I think the pandemic has really underlined the importance of these competencies. OSH practitioners now are becoming that integral resource, both in the lockdown period through the pandemic and then as part of the return to work process. So as OSH practitioners find themselves working more with HR and leadership colleagues to strategize and plan proficiently, maybe that will build the confidence that we're talking about has been missing, and reminding practitioners worldwide that really these skills are vitally important and can actually, as we both know, looking at other senior leaders in OSH around the world, can transport the OSH practitioner through the ranks of the organization's hierarchy to very senior levels of leadership and beyond that domain of just being a technical expert.
Good, good. I referred to this a little earlier, the negative side of it. Unlike 2008, the banking crisis, we saw something like 50% of public sector safety roles disappear as governments and local authorities applied their austerity and major budget cuts. We anticipate that there actually will be continuing investment now in public sector jobs, especially in NHS, healthcare, and in general blue-collar essential workers and health and safety. Are you confident this opportunity will be a reality? It's a bit of a social question, really.
Yes, isn't it? Look, I think we've been living through a health crisis of proportions that we've not seen for over 100 years. It's certainly been a historic moment. It's certainly going to be a time that all of us, no matter what age we are, will look back on and say, wow, that was something really big. It's also, as I've suggested, the moment that I think we'll look back on as OSH practitioners in years to come and say, that was the moment where the OSH profession was really recognized. That was the moment where the OSH profession was really valued. And that was the moment where I or we as practitioners were able to shine and to show my business, our organizations, our communities, a clear understanding of what needs to be done and how to do it. And I think we've been instrumental in preparing for and managing that transition. And we've been critical too in ensuring the process of returning to work is orderly, well managed and safe. We've got everything to play for right now. And organizations will have realized how essential we are to recovery and future business planning. So I think this opportunity is literally there for the taking. Now, of course, all organizations are different. Some have well-developed health and safety policies and ingrained practices, while others have got more informal setups. So whether the state of their health and safety provision, whatever the state of their health and safety provision, we can be pretty sure that the COVID-19 pandemic has shaken it up enormously. Yeah. And it's at this point that the OSH professional can step forward to take this chance. And I think it's a unique chance to really redraw workplace health and safety systems, perhaps from scratch. We've got an exciting possibility of using all of our assembled knowledge, individually and collectively, and our experiences to help organizations get it right now and into the future. And I certainly hope that organizations who might have been less open to the critical role of workplace health and safety now listening more intently to the profession. And I am beginning to see what I think is a glimmer of hope. And I know I discounted the idea of hope earlier, but a couple of weeks ago, I was invited to talk on a webinar for the Institute of Directors, of which I'm a fellow. And it was all about COVID. And I was very keen there to paint the picture of the value that the OSH practitioner can bring to the leaders that were on that call. And interestingly, after the session, the IOD told me that they had more than double the normal number of attendees on that webinar. And that, I think, is that glimmer of hope for us. Yeah. More leaders than ever before want to listen to what good safety looks like and then take action. So now's the time for OSH practitioners to contribute to organizational purpose, performance, productivity, and profitability, with people at the center and OSH practitioners stepping up to the front.
That's a good stat with the leaders, the IOD, having that faith and interest, certainly the interest and hopefully faith in what you guys can deliver. You've answered my next question, so I'm going to jump to an important one. Can you tell us a bit more about IOSH's Benevolent Fund, which is something I know you're you're hoping to, you are driving, its purpose, its target audience, and how can our Safety for Good followers get involved and support this?
Thanks for mentioning this, Simon. I'm passionate about the IOSH Benevolent Fund. It was set up to offer assistance to any IOSH member experiencing any type or kind of hardship. And the assistance might be financial or practical. For example, in the past, we've helped with mobility support, domestic support, retraining, lots of things. And at the present, of course, many of our members might be affected by the pandemic and have suffered loss of work and income. So the Benevolent Fund offers a source of financial support, but also of professional solidarity too. To be eligible, applicants must be an IOSH member of at least 3 years standing. And even if people listening to this program today don't feel that they need any support from the Benevolent Fund, they might know of someone in their network. And just by asking that question, how are you doing, a second time, as I was suggesting, maybe people watching this program might be able to identify someone that could benefit from a little bit of support there. And by the way, I should say that we really appreciate Safety for Good raising money through Virgin Giving over the past few weeks. It's very gracious of you and the rest of the team there to be doing that. And if anybody watching this would like to find out more about the Benevolent Fund, or to make a donation, no matter how small, every pound, cent, dollar or euro makes a difference to IOSH members. It's dead easy to find out about it. Just go to iosh.com/benevolent fund. Or if you're ready to donate, it only takes a couple of minutes by credit card, just iosh.com/how to donate.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And I know our supporters are always get behind some of the initiatives we kick off. So that's really good. So and it's great that you're an ambassador of Safety for Good as well. So it brings the organisations closer together. Mm. And you're going to breathe a big sigh of relief now, because I'm going to say that word finally. Last question. As president of IOSH at such a challenging time, have you modified your goals and ambitions for the organisation specifically for this COVID-19 crisis?
Look, IOSH has just marked the end of the third year of its 5-year strategy, which we call Work 2022. And hopefully everybody watching this programme is familiar with that strategy. If you're not, please do have a look. I think it's I've volunteered for IOSH now for about 21, 22 years. It's certainly the most progressive and most ambitious and most comprehensive strategy I think the organisation has ever had. It maps out a course in which we want to enhance our profession, collaborate with others to reinforce the workplace health and safety message, and increase our influence on IOSH policy and practice around the world. Now, to be sure, the pandemic has definitely had a short-term effect on our business goals and objectives at IOSH, just like it has for anybody else in any organisation, in any sector. And just like everyone else, we're planning how we'll adjust our operations and projects to reflect these changed circumstances. However, fundamentally, our strategy and our ambition remain absolutely unchanged. If anything, the pandemic strengthens our resolve and gives us further motivation, supposing that we're even needed to have more, in our strategic aims and successful pursuit of those. So as I intimated earlier, this can be viewed as a key moment for our profession. We offer an assurance of relevant expertise and experience that will support organisations in their recovery from the pandemic, finding safer, healthier and more sustainable ways of carrying out their business. And so whilst we've been through some really tough, challenging times over the last few months, I'm clear that we can make an important mark in the time to come. So our ambition is to be ever better at influencing governments and businesses to protect the safety and health of people at work. Occupational safety and health is increasingly important, and IOSH membership is a kite mark of quality that employers can trust absolutely at this critical time. So for our part, IOSH is constantly adding value to our members by enhancing their knowledge and skills, and through our IOSH mentoring scheme too. It's a valuable platform for like-minded professionals to share knowledge, and it's a moment when the profession can really take a leading role. I think it's a great time to be joining IOSH and being a member of IOSH too. From a personal perspective, it's certainly a brilliant time to be the president of this great institution. And it's one that gives me great thrill and honor to represent so many of our 48,000 members around the world. So yeah, it's there's definitely still some strong ambition, definitely still some great goals, and I think now is the time to act and drive us forward.
Fantastic. Well, that was a great way to finish, Andrew. Many thanks for your time today, for my Safety for Good community and also the wider community within IOSH and safety professionals around the world. Thank you very much indeed for a very, very interesting and contributive response and a great interview. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. You've had some wonderful questions. Thank you for thinking about them so well.
That's all right. It's a pleasure. Bye for now.
Bye for now.